Hi folks, here's a video on how to properly download, install, and set up the sound editing application Audacity on your laptop computers. Now I'm assuming that you probably know how to download and install a typical software package on your computer. But the reason why I'm creating this video is that there are specific instructions on how to set up Audacity. Audacity is a great program. It's free, it's professional, it's easy to use, but there's one thing about it, and that's the setup. If you don't set it up correctly, then you can't use it. And the other thing about it is that you discover that you can't use it the hard way, which is that you'll be working on your first project, you'll be working away and making the perfect edits, and then when you try to finally produce the edited piece of the edited sound file that's the product of your work, you won't be able to create that MP3 file unless you set it up correctly. So that's why I'm going to go through these steps with you right now. What you're looking at right here is a set of written instructions that you'll be able to find on Moodle. So I'm going to show you where these instructions are. And if you notice right here, I'm saying if you don't follow steps 4, 5, and 6 about installing this lame file and connecting it to Audacity, you will not be able to export. In other words, you will not be able to save MP3 files that you've created using this editing software. So let me first show you where these written instructions are, and then I'll go through all the steps on how to set this up with the lame file correctly. Here's Moodle in your Chrome browser. If you scroll down, you will see Audacity Sound Editing Software Installation and Instructions Part 1. That's right down here. Kind of scrolled kind of fast, so I'm going to scroll a little slower this time. Click on this, and you'll find not only are the setup instructions here, here are the setup instructions, but you'll also find all the initial basic steps to how to start using Audacity for your sound projects. Now the first thing we need to do is to follow the typical steps that we would follow to install any software application that we're going to use. So I'm going to go first to the website, and this is the Google Chrome browser, the Chrome browser, so I can, just by typing in here, I'm doing a Google search for Audacity. Just by typing in the address line of my browser, there's the Audacity website. I go to that, and you'll see a menu here for downloads. I have a Mac. You can do Windows, but I have a Mac, so I'm going to go to this one. The best option for our installation is going to be this one right here. So I'm going to download it. And right there you can see it's downloading. I am going to now show it in my Finder. And there it is, Audacity. It's a zipped file, so if I double click on it, I'm going to unzip it. And I'm going to drag the folder into my application folder. And then once this is moved into the application folder, I'm going to open the application folder. There's Audacity. I'm going to open that. And I'm going to double click on it. Now, if you have, be careful, because if you have some of you may have your security settings set up so that you're not allowed to, if you're using a Mac, you're not allowed to open anything that's not from the App Store. So if that's the case, you're going to have to go into Preferences and change your security settings to allow you to download and install this program. But I've already done that, so I'm just going to say yes. I'm sure that I want to open it, even though I downloaded it off the internet. And it's pretty instantaneous. There it is, right there. So that part's easy. You just download and install the software as you would any software application. And I've got a lot of windows open, so let me close those. Now what I have to do is to download this thing called the LAME file and connect that to Audacity. So let me quickly pull up the steps so you can see where I indicate how to do this in writing on Moodle. And here it is, steps 4, 5, and 6. Download the LAME encoder file, unzip and compress, and then you have to, this is basically telling you how to connect the LAME file to Audacity. So there's a couple different ways that you can find the LAME file on the internet. One is that I've provided the address for you right here. You can see I've highlighted it with my cursor. I can right click, and then this option right here allows me to just open up a new tab with to this URL address, web address. There's another way you can do it, which is you can go to the link that I provided you on Moodle. Here's Moodle again, and if you scroll down, I scrolled too far. Yeah, you will see link to the LAME file that you will need for Audacity. So I click on this, then I have to click on the actual link itself, and that brings me right to the page where I can get the download. Since I'm using a Mac, I had to scroll down a little bit. You can see Windows is right here. And I'm going to go to the LAME download page. And I'm going to click on this first one. And here it is, downloading. It says, this type of file can harm your computer, but it won't harm your computer. Don't worry about that. So, do I want to keep this? Yes. So now show in Finder, and there it is. Now, going back to the instructions for a minute, notice step 6, it says it is very important that you know exactly where you save the LAME encoder DLL or LAME lib file. Reason, this is the very first time you try to export an MP3 file from Audacity, it will ask you where's the LAME encoder file. So the first time you try to save basically your work with the MP3, it's going to need you to point to where the LAME file is. Okay, I'm not going to get a whole explanation as to why, but just follow these steps and trust me. Okay, so when I install this file, I want to make sure, this LAME file, I want to make sure that I know where it is. So right now, if I show in Finder, you'll see it's in Downloads. Okay, but when I go to install it, I'm going to be given an option to determine where I'm going to save it. And I'm going to just save it into the Audacity folder because it'll be easy to find right there. So I'm going to double click on it. It's opening up the zip. I'm going to double click on the software itself. Continue with the installation wizard. Yes, that sounds great. I'm going to change the installation instructions, however. So yes, I want it on my hard drive, but I want it specifically in my applications folder and in the Audacity folder, because it'll be easy to find right there. So I'm going to choose that and then go ahead and continue and install. Enter my password for the installation. Oops, mistyped it. And it happened pretty quick because it's a pretty small file. Now, if you remember, the next thing I need to do in order to complete the setup is go to Audacity, and when I go to export an MP3, which I've completed work on, it's going to ask me where my LAME file is. It's just going to ask me that once, the first time I do it, and then it'll have been completely set up. So I'm going to go to Audacity right now. Here's Audacity in my dock. This is what it looks like. It's got the headphones and the wavelengths. And I'm going to click on that. And in order to export an MP3 file, I need to have an MP3 file to work with in the first place. So, as you can see, you should be able to see the menus here. I'm going to go under File, Import, and I've got an MP3 file waiting to go on my desktop. So I'm going to say Audio. It's going to ask me where. I've got this on my desktop, so I'm going to open that. It's importing it. Once I've imported it, I'm just going to go ahead and do this export so that I can set up with the LAME file. So now I have the option to export audio. And I'm going to select MP3. And then as soon as I go to save, looks okay. So as soon as I hit this, this is where I tell it where the LAME file is. So I'm going to browse, and then I've got it right here. You notice it's grayed out, so I'm going to have to go to this pull down menu and select this option, select LAME right there, hit OK, and then hit OK here. And now it's going ahead and saving this file for me. And so we'll know in a second if it worked. Almost done. Okay, it's been saved. And it actually saved the file into my Audacity folder, which is in my applications folder. So I may want to change those settings for where it saves my files. But here's that file we just exported. And we can double click on it. It's opening it up with iTunes. No, I don't want a tour. And here's the file. Well, actually, it seems to. There it is. There's the file. And that's it. So let me know if you have any questions, but that should do it. Thanks.